because there's been a breach of the security on Facebook.
Just so you realize that that breach actually goes back to 2019. So this is not a brand new breach. They're just updating information. But the breach actually occurred back in 2019.
Well, the posting is pretty recent.
The posting is, right, but the breach is not.
Very well.
Well, Bob, are you saying the damage is done?
Well, yeah, for those people who've had their information shared, it's been shared. But you're not sure whether you have been affected or not. And it's always a good idea, if you learn about a breach, change your password. Because if you wait and the hacker gets a hold of your information and they change the password, then you're now locked out. So you change your password as long as you still have access. That means somebody who might have gotten a hold of your password won't be able to use it because it no longer works.
All right, what have we got? 2 minutes left. We are streaming on YouTube. When I go, Murray, when I go to add another stream on, just doesn't let me. And I don't know if that's a license issue, that maybe the license we have does not allow streaming to 2 different locations. I'll have to check that.
Yeah, another
And
thing you
maybe-
might try is see if you can do it through OBS Studio. I don't know. That would help.
Nah, that wouldn't. Nah, that's got to be a. I've never done it. When we streamed it, we used StreamYard for the Thursday show, and that worked fine. That's easy to stream to 2 places. But I suspect it might be a Zoom licensing issue.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe
Be also a setting. Could be a setting within.
It could be, but
That's
it
not
gives
set
me,
up.
well, it gives me the option to click on it to stream to Facebook, but once I set one up, when I go to that little more to stream another one, there's nothing there. So I think it's just allowing me to stream to one place. But anyway, we'll sort that out. It's now 9 o'clock. What have we got? 91. Well, I guess we should get the meeting going, eh? What do you think? We should 9 o'clock? Yep, let's do that. Bob, you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, we will do that. I'm going to mute all. And we will then share the screen, and we'll share it. We'll share the sound. Tech for Seniors, episode 54. It is April the 5th, 2021, season 2. Wow, welcome everyone. I was saying earlier that it's a difficult day for me today. Today is usually the day that we get back from Mesa, Arizona, but we've been here all winter. So anyway, different times. I want to thank everyone for coming today. As I said earlier, this is a totally volunteer organization. We don't get paid for anything. Our payment is you. It's the enthusiasm that you have with your just under 100 people watching us today that gives us the excitement to keep going. For those of you who are over on our YouTube channel, welcome and thank you for joining us as well. The show is a little bit different for YouTube. We'll be continuing on for the first 50 minutes, and then we'll be signing off just before the music segment. The show will continue on, though, here on Zoom, and it will go on till the top of the hour, and then we will have a 20-minute question and answer. As you all know, the show is taped, and it will be available later on today for a full recording of both the show today and the question and answer period. I'd like to welcome, first of all, Hewie. How are you doing, Hewie? And you were telling me yesterday about your WinSig's got something coming up that's pretty important. Do you want to mention that?
This Sunday, which is the 11th, the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group. I always have starting at 1 o'clock. We open the doors. We started at 1:30. And then right after it is the main meeting of the Central Florida Computer Society. And I was asked to do a presentation to SEMCO, which is the Southeastern Michigan Computer Organization group. And they meet at the same time, so it can't be in two places at once. So I suggested to SEMCO that we combine the meetings. So what we're going to do this Sunday is I'm doing a presentation on Evernote, which is agnostic as far as platforms. It works on all of them. So if you have a device, you can run Evernote. And so I'm going to be talking about Evernote. It's a way to store information and find it easily and quickly. And then right after that, instead of the main meeting of CFCS, we're joining with SEMCO, and they do a Linux SIG, which we don't have a lot of members that are capable of running a SIG, but are interested in Linux. And so the president of SEMCO holds his Linux SIG right after their session. So he's going to continue on. He's going to be talking about adding one of the distros or distributions of Linux. So it's going to be a fun time, and it's two big groups combining together to have one meeting. So it's something a little bit different, and it's open to everybody. So if any of you want to join, just drop me a note and I can give you the link to register. You have to be registered. You'll get a link for the meeting that's just for you, and please join us. If not, you can watch the recording.
Great, thanks so much. Bob, I hear you're going to give us a talk on spring cleaning. Not only are you the vacuum expert, but you're also going to tell us about spring cleaning. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to put the vacuum to use and clean up Windows 10.
Okay, well, you're in for a treat today. Bob did a really good job in getting this organized for you. So you'll learn all about spring cleaning. And then there's, of course, Ray with his new fancy schmancy computer. What do you got to tell us about it? You're wearing a seatbelt now, are you, or what's happening?
Well, it's faster than I anticipated. I think I told you it has the i7 processor, 32 gig of RAM, and I use the Windows Hello feature with the camera that not a camera, actually measures your face, etc. And I tested to see how long it would take after I pressed the start button, and it was on in 7 seconds.
Amazing, amazing. Yes. Well, you're going to talk more about some of the components of that today as well, I guess.
Well, in the future for sure. But yes,
okay.
One component in particular.
Good. Okay, great. And Dewey, you are in for a treat today. Dewey has something really interesting to talk about. LiDAR and radar and all sorts of fancy stuff that you're going to talk about cars today.
Well, it's not radar, but it's LiDAR, AR, and maps and how they are related, okay? And so we'll do my best. I already have my next week's topic planned, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to handle it since we're packing to leave for Minnesota and we'll leave on Thursday. So
okay, well, you can send it off. Send it off to me and we'll play it for you. Don't worry about that. All right, excellent. Thanks so much. It's going to be a great show today. We've got lots of very interesting things to talk about. One of the things that we did this week, we talked a little bit about this earlier, is that we did our pilot this last Thursday of called Tech for Senior Live. And this is where there was Hewie, Bob, and myself, and we just got together for talk, just to talk. We just had coffee and we just talked about things. And we used a program called StreamYard, and we streamed it to YouTube. And Facebook, and on the Facebook feed, we've had over 1,000 people have viewed the feed, and 120 of them have watched all or part of the show. We had as I said earlier, I don't know what we talked about that was so interesting. It must have been Bob's magnetic personality or something like that. But it was like, it's really quite phenomenal, the success. And we had a whole bunch of people on YouTube watch it as well. So it turned out really good. So we're going to do it again on this Thursday. So if you want to drop by and talk to us, that's fine. And we do concentrate on that show on the chat, because there's nothing structured. We just have our coffee and we just talk. And if you ask questions, we can answer them. So it's a bit different. This show is very structured and content orientated, where Thursday is just us chatting. I wanted to just briefly show you something before we move on, because as Tech for Senior grows, it gets more complicated as to content. And I constantly get asked how you find things. And I'm just going to share my screen, and I just want to show you. This is our newsletter that I sent out on Saturday. Now, if you don't get our newsletter, then please go over to Tech for Senior and sign up, and we will send you the newsletter free of charge, and it comes out twice a week. If you look in the newsletter, you'll see right up at the top here in black, you will see important news that we have. And if you come down, you'll see, of course, our live streaming. If you just click this button here, it will take you to the live stream. You can follow us on Facebook. We have our Facebook page here. But if you come down, what I wanted to show you guys was this. In the meeting info here, you will see two links at the bottom. And the first link here is season 1 and recent episodes. These are all the episodes of Tech for Seniors. And if you just click this link, and I'm not going to click it because it'll just take us to all the list. I will in a minute. If you just click this link, you will take you to all the episodes of Tech for Seniors. All you have to do is bookmark it. And if you ever want to find us and find all the episodes, you just click that bookmark and it'll all be updated. That's all you ever have to do. If you come down here, and you'll see the next link that I've given you is a link to the Tech for Seniors other shows. There's other products that we have produced that are not our weekly show, and that was all mixed in with the weekly shows playlist. So we now have created a second playlist here. And again, if you click on this, you'll see, again, this is what you'll find. It will bring up all the product that we have here. And again, if you come over and you just click this little button here, you can bookmark it. Okay, and then any that we add to this playlist, you'll be able to see. Now, we will be adding another playlist on here that will be, of course, for our Tech for Senior live show that we do. So that helps you find things, and it's all right there in the newsletter for you. All right, I'm going to stop sharing now and stop yakking. I think, Bob, are the bad guys? I looked at the length of your segment, and I think the bad guys are up to no good again.
Fortunately, you got that one right.
Okay.
Oh, and I shared wrong. Here is the Avast Security News Roundup for the week ending April 2nd, 2021. Ransomware gang wanted $40 million in Florida school cyber attack. The computer system of one of the nation's largest school districts was hacked by a criminal gang that encrypted district data and demanded $40 million in ransom, or it would erase the files and post students' and employees' personal information online. Broward County Public Schools said in a statement Thursday that there is no indication that any personal information has been stolen, and that it made no extortion payments to the ransomware gang, which, as an apparent pressure tactic last week, posted screenshots of its online negotiations with the district to its site on the dark web. The Fort Lauderdale-based district said it is working with cybersecurity experts to investigate the incident and remedy affected systems. Efforts to restore all systems are underway and progressing well. We have no intentions of paying a ransom. The district did, after 2 weeks of back and forth, offer to pay $500,000, at which point the ransomware criminals apparently ended negotiations, according to the hackers' screenshots. GitHub Arctic Vault likely has leaked metadata patient records. The patient data from multiple providers appears to have been captured and subsequently leaked on the data repository GitHub Arctic Code Vault by third-party vendor metadata, according to a new collaborative report from security researchers Jel Ursum and Descent Doe of databreaches.net. Metadata provides revenue cycle services to healthcare systems and hospitals, including Medicaid eligibility, third-party liability, workers' compensation, and patient billing services. The data was discovered on the Arctic Code Vault, which is an open source public data repository in a long-term archival facility designed to last for up to 1,000 years. Through the research, Ursum detected troves of protected health information tied to a single developer. The impact data included patients' names combined with one or more data elements, such as subscribers' ID, social security numbers, diagnosis, conditions, claim data, dates of service, medical procedure codes, insurance policy numbers, provider name, contact details, and dates of birth. All affected patients will receive free credit monitoring and identity theft services. Mackenzie Scott grant scam more widely spread than initially thought. Scott announced last December that she had distributed almost $4.2 billion of her fortune to almost 400 organizations in the U.S., dedicated to making a positive social impact. Emails impersonating the Mackenzie Bezos Scott Foundation continue to pour in, according to email security platform Iron Scales, who says the fraudulent messages reached at least 190,000 mailboxes. The messages purports to be from their charity organization saying that the recipient has been selected to receive a grant. The alleged funds could be released after replying with some personal details, full name and address, and paying a small processing fee required for the money transfer. Cybercriminals are quick to take advantage of high-profile events, such as billions being donated over a few months. They are also aware that some victims may not pay attention to typos and grammar mistakes. After all, even legitimate messages may contain mistakes or be sufficiently nondescript to raise suspicion. U.S. DOJ, phishing attacks use vaccine surveys to steal personal info. The U.S. Department of Justice warns of phishing attacks using fake post-vaccine surveys to steal money from people or tricking them into handing over their personal information. Attackers promise potential victims cash or prizes for filling out the fake surveys. Instead, they only harvest the filled out personally identifiable information to fuel fraud schemes involving identity theft. Consumers receive the surveys via emails and text messages and are told that as a gift for filling out the survey, they can choose from various free prizes, such as an iPad Pro, the DOJ said. The messages claim that the consumers need only pay shipping and handling fees to receive their prize. Victims provide their credit card information and are charged for shipping and handling fees, but never receive the promised prize. Victims also are exposing their personal identifiable information to scammers, thereby increasing the probability of identity theft. The DOJ Office of Public Affairs recommends avoiding clicking on links received via text messages or emails claiming to be a vaccine survey if they come from unknown and unverifiable sources. The rise of ransomware as a service. The RASS model means that almost anyone can enter this market and leverage the coding prowess of others. The affiliates don't have to worry about building and maintaining any malware infrastructure. Each affiliate is given a custom identifier code similar to how the legit programs work. This ensures that the affiliate is given credit and collects the appropriate commissions for their attacks. In a nutshell, the various RAS groups can be categorized into 3 groups. 1. Emerging screws that are just getting started and have just a few notable incidents. These include Exorcist, Lolkeg, and Rush. 2. Rising power centers which have had successful attacks and maintain blogs that advertise their services and shame their victims. This group includes Darkside, Thanos, and Klopp. 3. Top-tier organizations that have had numerous and well-publicized attacks and have been targeted by law enforcement, such as Drappelhamer, Revil, and Ryuk. Darkside, which is the company that offers ransomware as a service, also has developed both Windows and Linux-based exploits. Their initial compromise of Windows PCs installs a PowerShell script that immediately deletes volume shadow copies and prepares various database and email repositories for encryption and copying off-site. The malware typically enters an organization through a compromised third-party account and tries to access a virtual desktop session. The group has had a spike in activity between October and December of 2020, when the amount of Darkside sample submissions had more than quadrupled. Past ransom demands have ranged from 200,000 to 2 million, depending on the size of the compromised organizations. They are once again picking up steam in March 2021. The managed service vendor CompuCom fell victim to a Darkside attack. The company eventually revealed in a fact posted to its customers that Darkside was the suspected origin. If you are compromised by Darkside, prepare yourself against other forms of ransomware. Ensure your backups are intact and accurate. Intensify phishing awareness and education, and lock down your accounts with multi-factor authentication. Since the start of the pandemic, the threat vector has greatly increased, and the dark side is taking full advantage of that situation. And that wraps up this week's Avast Security News Roundup. Stay safe, stay secure. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
You're muted.
Thanks, Bob. I guess the bad guys are still working their way
Overtime.
over time. All right. Let me share the screen and let's listen. This is really a good, Dewey did a really good job on this. He always does a good job, but this is very interesting. Let's see what he has to say.
Good morning, friends. This is Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic for today is LiDAR, which you heard about in February. I'll expand on it a little bit. AR, which is augmented reality, and maps, which Google feels is so ubiquitous they can just call it maps. And then I'll be tying these topics together at the end. LiDAR is the acronym for light detection and ranging. It's an active remote sensing system that uses light in the form of pulsed laser to measure distances. These laser light pulses and other data points generated by the system create accurate 3D information about objects in their environment by taking zillions of precise time measurements. Hughes Aircraft Company built the first LiDAR prototype in 1961. And a decade later, in 1971, the Apollo 15 mission used LiDAR to map parts of the surface of the moon. Two basic categories of LiDAR are airborne and terrestrial. LiDAR terrestrial mapping is considered to be unparalleled in depth and dimension for finding the distance between two objects and does so faster than radar or cameras. LiDAR is among a group of today's technologies that form the basic building blocks of automation, from basic applications in sensors to 3D printing, 3D scanning, modeling, smart cities, and so forth. LiDAR is transforming the world in many ways. Well, how about consumer applications? Back in February, guest presenter Bill James told us about the Wise robotic vacuum cleaner that uses LiDAR technology to map the area in the home to be vacuumed before its first time use, and then it remembers it for the future. Several weeks later, our security guy, Bob G., Security Bob, demonstrated his new Wise robotic vacuum cleaner and demonstrated its elegant LiDAR mapping technology. For those few who might not know, Wise is a home products company that was founded by former Amazon employees. Their products may be purchased from Amazon or directly at wise.com. LiDAR is the core technology that makes autonomous vehicles possible and has significantly changed the field of land surveying forever. And it allows archaeologists to create models that were impossible to create early. I said nearly, but they were impossible to create. In 2018, stunning 3D images of an ancient Mayan city in Guatemala were revealed when LiDAR digitally removed the forest canopy to reveal these ancient ruins. Unbelievable. AR is the acronym for augmented reality. Augmented reality is an enhanced image or environment as viewed on a screen or other display, and is produced by overlaying computer-generated images, sounds, or other data on a real-world environment. It's a technology that enables the user to view virtual content just like it might exist or would have existed in the real world. Using point cloud, LiDAR adds to the AR experience. So what is LiDAR point cloud? Point clouds are huge sets of points that describe an object or surface. With the help of drone technology, LiDAR can also be used indoors to scan an area and record its data points, which produces a point cloud that's used to create a 3D model. That's how it works. So why am I telling you all about this stuff? Well, it's because Jay Peters reported in TheVerge.com on March 30th, a few days ago, that Google recently announced that it will be making some big upgrades to directions in maps, including a new tool to help with indoor navigation. Haven't had that before. This is big, I predict. Google also announced that it's bringing its live view AR directions, augmented reality directions, to airports, transit stations, and malls. Live view directions let you hold your phone up, point your camera at the world around you, and see arrows and icons pointing you in the direction you need to go. I'm sure many of you didn't even know that you have live view in your Google Maps, but it's there, especially for walking tours. In the event you're not familiar with live view in maps, I'll help you. To access live view on your Android phone or tablet, first enter a destination in the search bar or tap it on a map, and then tap directions. Above the map in the travel mode toolbar, we'll say that again, travel mode toolbar, tap walking. At the bottom center of your screen, tap live view. That's it, you're there. By the way, live view should be available to most iOS users using maps as well. Finding it is similar, but just enough different that a search for instructions may be warranted. Map users will need to practice patience in waiting for the rollout of indoor navigation. Live view augmented reality indoors will be slowly but surely growing in coverage in the coming years. At this time, live view AR is only available in some malls in Chicago, Long Island, Los Angeles, Newark, San Francisco, San Jose, and Seattle. Internationally, Google will launch indoor live view in directions we'll try that again. Internationally, Google will launch indoor live view directions in select transit stations, airports, and malls in Tokyo and Zurich in the coming months, and more cities are on the way, the company says. Google is also planning to revamp the interface for picking your mode of transportation for directions on Android and iOS devices. Currently, Maps users have to toggle through different tabs to see more detail about different transportation options. But with a new interface that's coming soon, you'll just scroll through a list. Google says Maps will even be able to prioritize the modes you prefer and put those that are popular in certain cities, like the subway in New York, for example, higher up on the list. This new interface is set to roll out globally in the next several months. In addition to the directions interface, Google is adding a new type of driving route that's optimized for local fuel consumption. Environmentalists will love that. If the eco-friendly route has about the same ETA, estimated time of arrival, as the fastest route to a location, Maps will default to the more fuel-efficient route, though you can change that in the settings if you'd like. Google plans to make these new fuel-efficient routes available on Android and iOS in the US later this year. Google also plans to pilot a new grocery store pickup tool this summer with select Portland, Oregon-based locations of the Kroger-owned grocery store chain, Fred Meyer. The tool lets you share your location and estimated time of arrival with the store via Maps so that your grocery order can be ready when you arrive. I'm writing this tech talk on April 1st, and I suspected it was an April Fool's Day joke when I read the headline, Microsoft killed Cortana and no one will miss her. Happily, it was not an April Fool's joke. Cortana is gone. Yay! I've read that in the game universe, all AI, artificial intelligence programs, lose control of their faculties at the 7-year mark. Kind of weird. Since real life imitates art, Cortana, the digital assistant, will shut down just about 7 years after her debut. Finally, shortly before this time next Monday, when our TFS meeting begins, Joanne and I will be leaving our son's home in Superior, Colorado, and driving back to our Minnesota home. Now, if my Verizon phone's hotspot cooperates, it could be the first time that a TFS regular member participant will have taken part in a TFS Zoom meeting while riding in a car. We'll see if it happens. Thankfully, my wife, Joanne, is a good driver. Well, that's my Tech Talk story for today, and I'm sticking with it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and have a great day.
Well, thanks so much, Dewey. That's going to be great. I'm sure glad Joanne's driving, though. That's going to be good.
That's another story I don't want to talk about.
Ray, are you ready to go?
Yes, sir. Let's share my screen here. All right, this morning I'm going to talk about what I had no idea even existed a month and a half ago. It's a new format for solid state drives, and it's called the M.2. And once again, this is computer storage drives becoming smaller and faster. So just a real brief history of storage drives that have transitioned over the years. In the beginning, the old line hard disk drive, 3.5 inch. That has lasted, think about it, for more than 35 years. I can remember working in an office atmosphere in the late 80s when we got our first hard drive on a computer, and it was 40 megabytes. And we all talked about it and said, how will we ever use that much space? And that capacity, as we all know, for the typical home user now has grew to 4 terabytes and larger. Those were old hard drives, magnetic heads, spinning platters at either 5,400 or 7,200 RPM, often resulted in failure over time. And then the 2.5 inch hard disk drive was created because that smaller size was initially wonderful to be placed in laptops. And that evolved into the 2.5 inch solid state drive with no moving parts. Now the M.2 drive became available about 5 years ago, but except for enterprise systems and ultrabooks, it was really considered too expensive for typical home users. So when I was teaching at the local college, I would often tell my students, electronics is the only industry I can think of where each year the products get better, yet cost less, right? Think about that. Anyway, this is what happened with the M.2 drive. And now the consumer can begin to benefit from the physical and internal advantages of this format. So it's a smaller size with faster read and write speeds. Now today, the M.2 solid drive is readily available as a storage device option in new computers. Now look at that, from that picture, you can see that this form factor resembles a stick of gum. It's considerably smaller than the 2.5 inch solid state drive, and it plugs directly into the motherboard like a memory stick. This provides faster read and write speeds and eliminates the need for power and data cables. Now it's adaptable too. It achieves its fastest speeds when directly connected to the motherboard. But if you really wanted to buy one now and use it on an older desktop, you could use a PCIe interface adapter or even an external enclosure that would be connected to an available USB 3.1 port. So I did a performance test now on a regular solid state drive versus a hard disk drive. So this is what I call my music computer. I keep almost all my music on this one computer, and it has 2 drives. It has a Samsung 1 terabyte 2.5 inch solid state drive. That came out with a read speed of 318 megabytes per second and a write speed of 495. And on that same laptop with a mechanical 2 terabyte drive, the read speed was only 68 and a write speed of 73. So that's just in a normal solid state drive versus a hard disk drive, you can see the difference in the speeds. And then I did a performance test with my old desktop, and this has the a little bit higher end Samsung solid state drive. And this one came up with a read speed of 541 and a write speed of 484. Much, much faster than the hard disk drive. So with these faster read and write speeds, first of all, in that picture, you can see the difference in size between a 2.5 inch solid state drive and the new M.2 drive. And most 2.5 inch drives will provide read and write speeds of around 530, 500 megabytes with a SATA connection. But the M.2, when you use this, it's called the NVM Express as the controller, that can process as much as 3,500 megabytes per second, which is 7 times faster than the SATA drive and 35 times faster than a standard hard disk drive. Now here's where size does matter. The model number tells you the physical size of the M.2 solid state drive. And all models use 4 numbers, and those 4 numbers, the first 2 digits are always 22. What is 22? Well, that represents the width of that new solid state drive in millimeters. The next 2 numbers are the length in millimeters. And you might see 80, 60, 42, 30, and that gives you model numbers that correspond with those numbers like 2280, 2260, etc. The longer size provides more flash memory capacity, while the smaller size will easily fit into thin ultrabooks and other very small type computer devices. Now, M.2 drives can be either SATA or NVM Express using the PCIe protocol. the same physical size, but it's hard to tell maybe from this picture, but they have slightly different pin connections. Just the thing to remember is the NVM Express has the faster read and write speeds. Now, Amazon, I just checked for the heck of it, offers two M.2 drives, a Samsung model, 2 terabyte for about $320, and a Western Digital Blue, 1 terabyte for about $105. So you want to install an M.2 in an existing computer? The very and most important consideration is to determine if your motherboard has a dedicated M.2 connector slot. So the best way to find that out is to go to the computer manufacturer's website. They should be able to provide you with motherboard specifications that will answer this question. If your motherboard does not have a specific M.2 connection slot, then you don't need to go any further if you want to direct connectivity, because you won't be able to have it. Now, depending on its type and functionality, an M.2 drive can use either the older SATA interface or this newer NVM Express, that stands for Non-Volatile Memory Express Interface Protocol. If you're going to use the SATA interface, then basically it's going to be about the same speed as a 2.5-inch drive. If you want that faster speeds, then you have to make sure the M.2 drive can utilize the NVM Express communications protocol. So I was in the market to purchase a new computer. And so now that I learned about this, I specifically looked for one with an M.2 solid state drive already installed that uses the NVMe interface protocol. I found one, I'm setting it up, and I'm going to give you more about that new computer and considerations I used in making that purchase in a future presentation. But for now, let me just suggest those that have a further interest in this, there are numerous videos on YouTube providing all the information you could want just by typing M.2 SSD in the YouTube search box. One of my favorites was provided by an entity known as PowerCert Animated Videos. The explanation is clear, and they use animated videos for people like me, so it's easy to follow and understand. And the good news is it's less than 7 minutes long. Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Ray. That's really good information. I'm absolutely excited about your talk on your new computer, and let us know how it's going. That's going to be lots of fun. All right, let's get on to spring cleaning. Bob, you're going to tell us, do we need a vacuum for this or what? You're muted. The famous words on Zoom.
Not really. Vacuum is not recommended for this.
No, okay, well, that's interesting.
Spring has arrived. It's also a great time to do a spring cleaning of our Windows 10 computer. A good place to start would be by uninstalling applications that you don't use. You may even find some applications that you don't know how they ever got to your computer in the first place. This tip may seem obvious, but it's a good place to start. Many apps that you install add startup programs or background system services that make your PC take longer to boot and that use resources in the background. Some programs clutter File Explorer's content menus with options. Others, especially PC games, can just use a lot of disk space. That's fine if you use these applications and find them beneficial, but it's easy to install a large number of applications and find yourself not using them at all. To clean things up, uninstall the applications that you don't use. On Windows 10, you can head to Settings, Apps, and Features to see a list of applications that you can uninstall. You can also access the traditional uninstall or change a program pane in the classic control panel. Yes, Windows 10 still has the control panel. Once you remove those programs and apps, the next logical place is to remove browser extensions that you don't need and probably never use after installing them. Browser extensions are similar to apps, and it's easy to install a bunch and find yourself not using them. However, browser extensions can slow down your web browsing, and most of them have access to everything you do in your browser. That makes them a security and a privacy concern, especially if they're created by a company or individual you don't trust. Go through your web browser's installed extensions and remove ones that you don't use or trust in Google Chrome or any other browser you may be using. In Chrome, for example, click Menu, More Tools, Extensions to find them. In Mozilla Firefox, click Menu, Add-ons. In Microsoft Edge, click Menu, Extensions. Once you get to them, you can get rid of them. Just select Remove. Many of the programs and apps that you've installed like to start when your system starts. So tweak your startup program. We recommend uninstalling programs that you don't need and that you aren't using. To find the startup program controls on Windows 10, right-click your taskbar in a blank spot and select Task Manager. Or you can use the shortcut keys Control, Shift, and Escape. Click the Startup tab, and if you don't see it, click More Details first. You can also find a similar tool at Settings, Apps, Startup. Disable any programs that you don't want running at boot time. Many of them will not be necessary. Bear in mind that this may impact functionality. For example, if you choose not to run Microsoft OneDrive or Dropbox at boot, then they won't launch and synchronize your files automatically. You will have to open them after the computer's startup process is completed for that to happen. The more things you have running when the system starts, the slower the boot time and the more resources are being used. So choose those programs that start at boot wisely. Organize your desktop and files. Spring cleaning isn't just about making your PC run faster, it's also about making you faster at using it. Cleaning up your messy desktop is a big part of that. And if you don't want to clean up your desktop, consider just hiding your desktop icons, which you can do easily by right-clicking your desktop and unchecking View Show Desktop Icons. Beyond that, consider opening File Explorer and organizing your personal files and folders. There's a good chance that your download folder in particular needs a cleanup, or just some quick delete of old downloads that you no longer need. Whichever folder you use frequently, consider pinning them to the quick access sidebar in File Explorer for easier access to your stuff. Clean up your taskbar and start menu. While you're at it, consider pruning or reorganizing your taskbar icons. If your taskbar is full of icons for applications that you don't need, unpin them by right-clicking them and selecting Unpin from the taskbar. Rearrange them with drag and drop to reposition them wherever you like on the taskbar. Look at customizing your start menu too. Windows 10's default start menu is packed with shortcut tiles that you probably don't even use. If you've never customized it, now's a good time to ensure that only the programs you use are pinned to its tiles area. Tidy up your browser and its bookmarks. You probably spend a lot of time in your computer's web browser. If you use its bookmark feature, consider taking some time to reorganize your bookmarks in a way that makes sense. It's easiest to do this from your browser's bookmarks manager, rather than fiddling with the bookmarks toolbar. In Google Chrome, click Menu, Bookmarks, Bookmark Manager to launch it. Consider backing up your bookmark before continuing in case you want them again in the future. Run disk cleanup to free up space. If you want to clean up some temporary files and free up some disk space, try using the disk cleanup tool built into Windows. On Windows 10, open the Start menu, search for Disk Cleanup using the search box, and click Disk Cleanup to launch it. Click the Cleanup System Files button to ensure that you're cleaning up both your Windows user accounts files and system-wide files. Depending on how long it's been since you last ran this tool, you may be able to free up gigabytes of unnecessary files. For example, files related to old Windows updates. Look carefully through the list of things that Disk Cleanup plans to delete to ensure that the tool doesn't delete anything that you want to keep. Dust out your PC. If you have a desktop PC, you should be opening it regularly and giving it a quick dust. Be sure to turn the PC off first. Dusting your laptop may also be necessary. Dust often builds up in your PC's fan and in other components, reducing their cooling effectiveness. As a result, your PC may run hotter, or at least the fan will have to work harder to provide the same amount of cooling. While you don't have to go crazy in thoroughly cleaning every part of your PC, we do recommend powering off your PC and cleaning it with compressed air. Never use a vacuum for this. You should also clean your dirty keyboard, monitor, and more. Dust on the inside of the PC can affect performance and cooling, but there's probably dust elsewhere too. On the screen, on your computer's motherboard, in between the keys on your keyboard, and more. Spring cleaning is a great time to do a nice deep clean. To clean your monitor, all you need is a standard microfiber cloth, the same kind you'd use to wipe a pair of eyeglasses. To deep clean your keyboard, you can generally remove the keys and use compressed air or a vacuum to clean out the accumulated debris. You might also just turn the keyboard upside down if it's not part of the laptop. Sometimes lots of stuff comes out of it you didn't even know was in that keyboard.
Unmute yourself.
Ron, you're muted.
Ron.
Thought I hit the button. There you go. Thanks, Bob. I guess the Wise Vacuum isn't going to do that for us, eh?
Especially not on remote control.
All right. Bob, there was a couple of questions in the chat. I'm going to defer those for the question and answer. So Ray can get into his music segment now. Is that okay with you?
Fine with me.
Yeah, great. I want to thank everyone on the live stream that from YouTube that has joined us. There's a bunch of people over there watching. Thanks very much for coming, and we will see you again next week, the same time, same place. For the rest of us, we now have the enjoyment of Ray's music segment. Ray,